Hi everyone, thank you for joining us this Friday evening. My name is Joel and I'll be moderating tonight's panel discussion where we'll talk about how everyday tech has influenced life moments in Singapore. Now this is of course the theme of the LifeSG Awards, a new category at the Viddsee Juree Awards 2021. Now joining us tonight will be notable filmmakers as well as representatives from both LifeSG as well as Vitsa, and they will share about the stories that we'll be looking for and also pick up some tips on how you at home can gun for the win. Now unfortunately, one of our earlier panelists, Lilin, will not be able to make it for tonight's session, but don't worry, we've invited Nikki from Vitsa to be here with us instead. Now without further ado, let's say hello to our panelists for tonight. Now, first of all, we have Dominic, who is the director of GovTech. Now, Dominic leads the Moments of Life team in GovTech, and he believes that the most innovative product will always be the one that is designed around users' needs. Hi, Dominic.
Hi, Joel. Hi, everyone.
Hello, hello. Now, Dominic, can you tell us a little bit more about the vision of LifeSG and also your division?
Right. So, the vision of LifeSG is to help citizens navigate government services. Right? We believe that when citizens need to consume government services, this is usually evolving around the key moments in their life. And how can the government serve this to the citizen in a very user-centric manner? So the three problems we want to solve, number one is that some of the government services can be very siloed today. Can we put them together in one single place? The second thing is actually poor discoverability, difficult to find government services sometimes. And the third one is lack of awareness, difficult for people to know things that they are entitled to. So that's what we want to solve for citizens today.
Nice, thanks, and welcome, Dominic. Next up, we have Derek Tan, who is the co-founder of Vitsa, a tech and media startup that leverages data and community to produce and market premium short content. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you.
Now, Derek, can you tell us a little bit more about what Vitsa does?
Yeah. So Viddsee, we are a video entertainment platform. So we've actually worked with a community of filmmakers to curate, produce and actually market short films, documentaries, web series to online audience. So we actually have a platform, viddsee.com, our app, yes. TV app, mobile app. Basically, you're getting content out to audiences across the world.
Nice, got it. Now, next up we have Nikki. So Nikki Lok is a filmmaker and content programmer at Vitsa, and with a passion for making real-life stories, Nikki has directed and produced short documentaries overseas and locally. Now, she now manages the content programming at Vitsa and works closely with filmmakers and festival curators to showcase their films to a global community. Welcome, Nikki.
Hello.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your film background?
Sure. I think ever since I was in school, I had this love for documentaries. And now I'm just very fortunate to be closer to the people behind the scenes, behind the cameras. So working very closely with film communities and film schools to champion these local and regional voices. So it's been a very inspiring journey so far.
Nice, I'm sure it is. Welcome, Nikki. Now, last but not least, we have Evelyn. So Evelyn is the product manager at LifeSG. So Evelyn is with the LifeSG product management team in GovTech, and she leads the development streams and works with a group of designers and engineers to bring seamless and personal service delivery to the public. Welcome, Evelyn. Now, Evelyn, can you tell us a little bit more about what kind of life moments at LifeSG has been supporting?
Yeah, so LifeSG started as Moments of Life app. We started by supporting parents with newborns, and then we expanded our service for active aging to seniors. And then in times of COVID, we pivoted our services as well to support those who are looking for jobs and those who are looking for a career switch. Yeah.
Very, very nice. Thank you. All right, so for those of you who've just joined us this evening, of course, we're talking about how everyday tech has influenced life moments here in Singapore. And this is once again the theme of the LifeSG Awards, a new award category in the Vitsa Juree Awards 2021. Now, while we wait for more people to come in, maybe we can get to know all of you guys a little bit better by playing a game of Have I Ever? All right, so on your tables, you'll see some pedals. So pick it up right now. And I'll basically be saying some statements for you guys. And what I'll need you to do is to raise the circle if you have done it before, and the cross if you have not done it before. Okay, understand? All good? All good? Okay, so the first statement, all right, is have I ever made a film, whether it's a professional or amateur one? All right, at the count of three, just raise up your pedal. 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. Dominic is the only one who hasn't made a film. Dominic, have you ever wanted to make a film?
Well, definitely. I have never really made a film by myself, but I'm always very fascinated with the film industry, right? I'm always curious how people actually go about doing it, how the story come about and stuff like that. So yeah,
Very, very
definitely.
nice. Now, of course, I would expect the both of you to have made films before, but I want to just ask Evelyn for just a little bit, like how come you raised yes, like what film did you make?
It was back in secondary school. It's like mostly event videos.
Ah,
And
okay,
then there are
okay,
some
okay.
themes as well that I'm exploring.
Nice,
Yeah.
nice. Okay, so the second statement that we have for today is, have I ever had an embarrassing story involving technology? Okay, embarrassing story involving technology. Now, if you say yes, I'm confirmed gonna ask you what it is. So think carefully first, okay? All right, at the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. You have to- I know what you're saying. Okay, wow.
We're very thick-skinned.
Okay, Dominic, I have to ask you, what is that embarrassing story? Can you share with all of us?
Well, so we started to grow in an era where things start to be touchscreen, and the expectations start to be there. So I remember I was overseas and I was in this particular kiosk, and obviously there were some buttons that I failed to observe, and I just keep touching the screen and like, how come it's not working? I tried to get somebody to help me. And the person was very puzzled. Why am I touching the screen all the time?
Oh no! But I mean, we are in a transition period where,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah,
like a lot
yeah.
of new tech will involve touch screen.
Yeah.
So I don't blame you. I think it's something that I would have done as well. Now, what about Evelyn? What is your story?
Well, it's a classic COVID stories, right? So it's either you muted yourself or you accidentally unmute yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Oh God! Where is this going?
So yeah, basically the whole meeting heard my conversation with my husband, and like they have to like, oh yeah, even you have something to say, and I was like, yep. I have been accidentally unmuted. So
Oh no! As long as you weren't like talking bad about anyone.
all good. Talking about lunch.
Because it was
it's
the
a bit
camera
awkward.
on.
All right. Let's move on to the next statement. So the next statement is, have I ever invented or created something that a lot of people use? I'm quite sure that on my right side we'll have a lot of guesses, but at the count of 3, raise up the pedal, okay? 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Oh, okay, I'm interested in, what do you know? What do you mean no, Dominic?
I didn't invent all this thing. My people actually work
Okay,
together.
okay. Wow,
so
humble,
I-
humble. Huh? Yes. Now, okay, I want to ask Derek actually. So, what is that thing that you created? Why are you paiseh? Why you look like that?
Co-founder.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Consume lah also counted as
Consume
use
lah.
lah.
Yes.
Yes.
Exactly.
Okay.
Millions of people.
All right. So this one, I think a lot of you at home will also say yes, but I just want to hear from the panelists. Have I ever celebrated my birthday over a video conference call? At the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. No? Yes? All right, Nikki, how was that like actually?
Oh, it was great.
Oh, it was great.
I think at the end of it, yeah, because it was my team actually, and then they sang like happy birthday song, and then we took like a class photo
That's
at the
cute.
end of it.
That's
yeah.
cute. Did you feel like, it's different from the usual kind of celebration?
Definitely. I mean, anyone would have wished for an in-person
yes.
celebration. There's that festivity, right? But I think it can still be kind of reimagined in that sense where, you are still connected to one another. It's just through screens,
Yes.
but it's just that thought. and
So you
that
felt the love
action.
through the screen
Yes,
still.
very
yes.
loved, very
So for those of you at home, I hope you're listening in because this kind of emotions are what I think will be valuable to the films that you want to make with regards to the contest. All right. So last question before we move on. Actually, I think it's time for us to move on to the next section. Actually, so. Can I get you guys to put down your pedals? Let's talk a little bit more about the Viddsee Juree Awards, actually. So maybe I want to ask Derek this question, okay? Can you tell us a little bit more about what the Viddsee Juree Awards is all about?
Yeah, so Viddsee Juree is actually our annual film festival. Really, coming in to celebrate the best short films across the region. So we don't just run it here in Singapore, but we've started it also in Indonesia and Philippines. So really regional films. The whole idea is also bring on international panel of judges to actually come in and look at country's films and really kind of like recognize the film itself. I think this year for Viddsee Juree Singapore, this year itself, we're bringing on Samuel Jamil. He's the executive director at the New York Asian Film Fest. We've got Takashi Homatsan. He's actually the director at Sapporo Short Fest, and then also a local filmmaker, Lilin, who can't be here today, but Lilin herself, prolific, one of the early, female directors in Singapore as well. So really having, I guess, this esteemed panel of judges really looking at the film star, and that's what really is Juree. That's really what Juree is about.
Very, very nice. Now, can you just recap for everyone at home what is the theme of the contest?
Yeah, so specific to the LifeSG Awards itself, it's a new category that we've launched this year, in partnership with LifeSG. One of the reasons I think why we want to collaborate was also when we looked at moments of life and we look at short films. My philosophy in short films is really slice of life, and we thought that was something that gels in really, really nicely. So I guess with the LifeSG award category, I think we're looking at again the moments of Singaporean life, and I guess a bonus to it is really how does everyday tech really comes in and play a part to our lives.
Understood. Now, I'd like to talk a little bit more about that in just a bit. But for those at home, I'm sure they are wondering, if they join this category, what can they win? So can you tell us what's up for grabs?
Yeah. So I guess overall wise, Viddsee Juree is really the prestige of being recognized. Being in front of kind of like the panel of judges, but specific to the LifeSG Awards itself, we're looking for 5 winners. Each winner will go home with $5,000, in cash.
Wow. I think for especially like people who are just starting out in their journeys, that will be quite an exciting incentive. Yes. Now, actually, I want to ask Nikki this question. So who should actually participate in this category? Can beginners, professionals, all of them join?
Yes. So we're not looking out for the likes of like Steven Spielberg's out there. We're looking for Susan, for John, for Mary, if those are your names. But people who are really excited to create new content that also aligns with the theme, moments of Singaporean life. So yeah, it's open for everybody.
Understood. Now, for those of you who are perhaps aren't too familiar with the production life, maybe we can spend some time later to talk about some of the concerns that might arise with COVID-19, and of course some of the key things that our filmmakers should take note of when having productions made in Singapore. Now, before we continue, I just want to say that the live Q&A is ongoing, and those of you at home can actually put your questions into the comment section on Facebook. Yes? All right, so we'll be taking some questions later on in this evening. All right, so keep putting your questions in, and the producers will be choosing some of them later. Now, I want to move on to talking about LifeSG, and I think I'll turn to those on my right side right now. So, Dominic, I just want to ask you, what are some of the problems that LifeSG is trying to solve?
Right. So LifeSG seeks to solve 3 problems. The first problem is that government services and information can sometimes be very siloed because we are structured in the government by agencies, right? But if you think about it from the user point of view, that doesn't matter. They will view us as one government and they will expect us to serve them as one government. The second problem that we want to solve is about the discoverability of government services. You go out there and ask people, right? Government services are not things that people consume on a regular basis, right? Nobody would want to go and work with the government or go to police station every now and then kind of thing. So when they need to do so, typically, if you ask the man on the street, how will you go about finding out where to go and do it? They will say, I asked a friend who has recently done it, or I will maybe Google about it, right? But we think that there can be something more authoritative source for information that we can provide and serve more proactively. And the third problem that we want to solve is this thing about lack of awareness. So people may not know that there are something that they can reach out for help for, from the government, or services that government offer that can be of use to them. So again, 3 things: siloed services, poor discoverability, and thirdly, lack of awareness.
Very clear. Thank you, Dominic. Now, I want to ask Evelyn this question. So, how has LifeSG, as a piece of technology, impacted life moments for people in Singapore?
We have a slew of e-services and service bundles, basically interagency services that we package together into a narrative that people can understand. For example, buying a HDB flat. This is something that is really relevant to me as well. Like, I just got the keys to my first flat. And I remember the process was really cumbersome. Like, I don't even know how this whole balloting works. And imagine, like, if we have this service in LifeSG whereby the government or somebody else tell me exactly what steps I need to do, at which stage I need to go to CPF and make sure my funding are sorted. And after I got my keys, like, go to ICA to change your address. These are some things that is hard for me when I was going through the process of buying my flat. And LifeSG have these service bundles or topics or guides to help citizens through that process as well.
Right.
Yep.
100%. I think, especially for someone like me who always refers to guides online, I think that something like this would be so helpful, especially when sometimes you're very paiseh to ask people. You look a bit like, oh, saku, but actually a lot of people also don't know, so guides like this will be extremely helpful. Now, Dominic, what about you? Same question, like how has LifeSG as a piece of technology impacted life moments for people in Singapore?
Well, I always like to quote this example because this is one where I personally went through and something that I wish LifeSG was available back then. So I moved back from overseas and I wasn't working for public service at the point in time.
Okay.
And when I have my firstborn, I was, of course, busy, right, with all the father stuff.
Yes.
But it was not until later on then I found out that actually I'm entitled to baby bonus. So this is again my point about lack of awareness, right? Yeah. I didn't know about it. So one day my friend came and said, hey, you apply already not? The government give money. I was like, oh, okay, I didn't know. Then the next thing is how to do it, right? And it's not intuitive to me because, yeah, the person who did the birth registration should give me the money lah. You know, why so complicated? I have no idea how the government is being structured, right? So then I have to grapple with all the find out step by step what to do. Then, 4 years later on, my second child came along. Guess what? Of course, I forgot already.
Yeah.
I had to start all over again. But now, actually, if you look at what LifeSG can do, all these things is actually done in one single step, right? You go through the app and then within half an hour, in the comfort of the ward where your baby, you can spend all your time with your baby, you can get all these things done. So I think that is how we think tech should be to help citizens to be an assistant to citizens when they need to navigate and consume these kind of services.
Absolutely, and I think what I like about it is that you know exactly where to go, and the fact that it is tech is that it can be updated. Sometimes in the past we will look at like pamphlets or like books and whatnot, but then after a period of time, like things may be updated and then they might no longer be relevant. But with technology, you're able to keep things updated, and also the fact that it is existing in a digital world is that you know that you can just go exactly where you need to go to get that. So that's what I absolutely love about it. Evelyn, I just want to ask you this question. What is next for LifeSG? If you can tease us a little bit.
Well, we have a lot in the house. Like, there's a lot of plans. I'm super excited about this, actually. We're going to expand the range of our e-services as well. The service bundles and the topics and the guides that we earlier talked about. We're going to have appointment bookings for people to book appointments with various agency offices. And then we have reminders as well, like, hey, your immunization is coming up, or like, hey, you have to complete your birth registration for your kid.
Important.
Yeah, correct. Something along that line. And we have a slew of other services related to events, payments, and so on.
Very nice. I'm actually personally very excited for that because I'm not the best adult out there. I've gotten a lot of warning letters. So reminders will be very helpful. Yes. Actually, I just want to ask both of you, so you both mentioned how LifeSG is designed to be user-centric and also relevant to life moments of users. Now, can you guys share how this is done on the back end of things, in terms of like processes? How do you guys make it relevant and also user-centric to users?
Right. So I think, when we think about technology, it always has to be something that is where the user is in the center. Because if we don't do that, then we are just doing technology for the sake of technology. A lot of things that we do, we really start from going down to the ground, getting to know the people, interview the users, right? We find out from them and map out the entire user journey, understand from them what are the pain points that they are going through, either by asking that question directly or sometimes even observing on the site, because sometimes people may not even realize that life can be better And by observing, we actually learn a lot of things from there. Then what we do is that our team take this back and then we map it out. And we actually try to think of ideas and think of solutions of how we can help to make that process even better, easier and simpler. But it doesn't stop there, because very often than not, if we just imagine all these solutions in a room without testing it, it wouldn't work. So we actually iterate over and over again, right? We do a first version, we roll it out, we test, and sometimes people will give us even more feedback and say, okay, you know, it works, but then there are all these things that still can be better. And then we learn and we continuously improve.
Yes. I love that you guys actually like involve the average person into the processes as well, because this tech are ultimately made for them, right?
Yeah.
So I appreciate that. Evelyn, is there anything you want to add to that?
Similar to Dom, like we do a lot of user testing. We take in a lot of user feedback, and then we look into the analytics data as well to actually find out how are we serving them? Are we meeting their needs or not? Yep.
Nice. All right. So next up, I want to talk about the theme of this award category, which is, of course, moments of a Singaporean life. And I want to ask you guys, when you guys first heard of the theme, what is, your thought process like? Now, before I ask you guys the question, I just want to recap that moments of life can be, big life moments and also even small daily moments. And of course, when we refer to everyday tech, we're not talking about like sci-fi, futuristic tech. We're just really talking about literally everyday tech that we use. So let's talk about, what your thoughts were and what kind of stories are you excited to hear about. Maybe we can start with Nikki on this. So the question is, when you first heard of the theme and how it's an exploration of everyday tech, what were your thoughts and what are the kind of stories you're excited to hear about?
I think when I first heard of the theme, it brought back a lot of memories because I have been curating basically thousands of short films, and actually a lot of them resonate with this theme. They are about accessibility, they are really relatable moments of whether it is celebrating key milestones all the way to really recognizing the important people in your life, your parents, etc. So yeah, I think that was the first thought that came to my mind, where it's about accessible life moments that you really want to just put out your message out there and see who is able to connect with you and really show what humanity is about, what it means to be actually living in today's context.
Yes. Basically celebrating the everyday moments,
Yes.
Right? Yes. All right, so Derek, same question. What did you think about when you first heard of the theme?
Yeah, I think for me, again, going back to what I earlier said, slice of life, I think as filmmakers, we kind of see ourselves as storytellers of the community, almost like you guys as product folks, right? You're going out, you're understanding what's happening on the ground with the users using your product. I think filmmakers kind of like do that. We kind of like see, hear, really kind of absorb things around the surrounding. And I think when I heard of the theme, Moments of Singaporean Life, again was so super relevant to what we do as short films. And I guess as filmmakers, budding filmmakers, really just going out there, seeing what's happening in your own life, and I think that relatability of what you kind of like feel and experience, and if you're able to kind of like present that out, print that out on a film and get all of us to watch it, I think that would be something amazing, because I think as an audience we then can also relate to those moments as well also.
Very, very nice. Thanks, Derek. Now, Dominic, same question. What were your thoughts when you first heard of the theme?
So when we discussed about partnering together with Vitsa to do this, I was actually very, very excited, because like what Derek mentioned, right? When we view what the product seeks to do, and when we think about all these key moments, it's actually something that probably very relatable, right? And something that reflects our daily life struggles, big or small. And that's usually what you see in films, in movies, right? No movie will be like plain simple story. There'll be something interesting happen.
Slice of life.
And I straight away can visualize like, oh wow, this is actually an interesting idea, an interesting partnership to have, because I think it is a good chance for us to really ideate as well, right? And to also hear out what other people have when they think about this problem.
Very, very nice. Thanks, Dominic. Now, same question to Evelyn. Now, what were some of your thoughts when you first heard of the theme?
I love it. Like the moment I heard it, moments of Singapore in life, I'm like super interested. Hey, like in your opinion, like how has tech actually played a part in your life moments as a Singaporean? And then what kind of moments are you talking about?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like super interested to actually see the submissions, you know, in the sense like I'm really interested to see how other people see it. Yeah.
Nice. All right, I'm going to ask the creators, the creative people, right? When we hear the term Singaporean life, yes, like what does that mean to you as a creator? Sorry for putting you on the spot there.
Singapore life.
Right.
That reflects. Singapore life. It's really broad because Singapore life. I mean, I can go back into those films that I've seen in the past. I think there was one particular story that really touched me deep down. It's called Plintic. It's a short film documentary. So it features this really great mother of, I think, 15 children. So she has been married since like the age of 13. So the biographical documentary basically paints out her entire journey to like having to dabble a lot of day jobs, feeding and also inculcating some of the morals and teaching her kids and all that. She has basically dedicated her entire life to her family. So I think it's profiles like these that really paints a very true picture of you know, living in Singapore. That is really relatable.
Yes, I think the keyword there is relatable, right? Derek, you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, so I think when we think about film, I think we look at, you know, the setting, the world that we kind of create in, and when you kind of like look at Singapore, you know, it's a lot of facet, you know, within the Singapore, you know, environment that I think we can kind of like come in and create, and then immediately the setting itself becomes very relatable for our audiences, the characters, right, the people we put in this world, and again it goes back to, you know, the everyday people, right? So I think that is what you see like every day, right? The uncles and aunties, your friends, your family. You know, how do you kind of put them in that world? And I guess the story and the themes, things that really quintessentially us also in that way. I think when you watch a certain film, it's like, hey, you know, this is how maybe, you know, my parents are. You know,
Yes.
we kind of have our own certain quirks in that sense, right? So I think when I kind of look at that and you kind of mirror that to how we do films, I think there's a lot of things that we can kind of like really put together, and I think what would make it very different is the conflicts, right? The kind of like stories that we were you know, that the participants would kind of like share lah. So
Very nice.
yeah, that's what I kind of see lah, Singaporean.
Yes. Now, of course, those of you at home, I'm sure that when you're listening in, you're also keen to understand, you know, what the judges will be looking for in the category and how you at home can stand out if you submit your submissions. So we have two judges on the panel today. So I want to ask, you know, maybe Nikki first. You know, what are some tips that you can share for those who are looking to win?
Gunning for the award. I think I will not reveal the answer, but I'll drop some hints maybe.
Sure.
I think a bonus would, of course, if you are able to think out of the box, being able to somehow integrate that everyday tech in your storytelling. And of course, I think for us, when we look at the films coming in, we look at storytelling, production value, accessibility, the originality of your idea as well, how creative you can get. So yeah, I think these are some of the pointers that you can take note of.
All right, got it. Now, are there any particular formats or genres that are preferred by the judges, if you can reveal?
No?
No?
All formats and genres are welcome.
So things like fiction, animation, documentary,
Yes.
they're all going to be accepted.
Or even a blending of genres. Hybrid.
Yes. Okay.
Horror.
Hybrid storytelling.
The possibilities are endless, basically,
Yes.
right? All right, so
Derek prefers horror.
okay, for technical,
I'm not a judge.
for horror,
I'm not a judge.
for limitations in terms of language that can be used, because I mean, you know, it is Singaporean life, right? So we are in a place where there are multiple languages. Like, are there any limitations in terms of this category?
No. I think we're looking for authentic stories. So if they are filmed in their original dialects, that would be awesome.
Right, nice. Very
natural.
inclusive
Yes.
competition. Love it. Okay, so for those of you at home, please make sure you head to the Viddsee Juree LifeSG Awards category website. So I think we're putting the link in the comments right now, or you can also screenshot the QR code that's popping up for more details, all right? So for now, I want to go on to the pre-submitted Q&A. So before this, we actually asked those of you at home to submit your questions to a Pigeonhole link. So we have selected some of those questions to answer today. So we have about 4 questions. So the first question that came in was, can the film be about other life moments than the ones listed in the theme description? So I believe those that were listed were graduation to adulthood, receiving your first job offer or paycheck, experiencing parenthood, and also reaching retirement. So maybe I can get Dominic to answer this one. Like, can it be about other life moments as well?
Absolutely. In fact, even the life moments that we feature currently in LifeSG, we are ever growing, ever adding on new moments as we go along. So we would love to see, from a different perspective, how people feel life moments are to them, and yeah.
Got it. All right. So Evelyn, I have a question for you. Must the submission video feature the LifeSG app itself?
No, it's not necessary unless it makes sense, and then also it adds to the story.
Ah,
Yes.
okay. So it's is it going to be a bonus if they include it, or like it doesn't matter?
Only if it makes sense, or
Only if it makes
adds to the
sense.
story.
Only if it adds to the
Adds to the
story, yeah.
story.
So this is not like those movies where you have product placement. All right. Okay, so I have another question coming in. It is, maybe Derek can take this one. Can the story be about life moments happening during COVID-19? Very relevant question. Yes.
Yes, it can, but we're not really just looking out for stories during COVID. It can be before, basically set in a neutral COVID-19 kind of like world as well. Also, again, pretty flexible, because I think we're just looking for life moments before, after, during COVID-19.
Okay, got it. Now, Nikki, maybe you can take this next one, because earlier you mentioned that anyone can join this competition, right? So I'm guessing that there will be some first-timers that will be contributing their films. So perhaps what are some pointers that you can share to those who may be submitting their films for the first time as first-time filmmakers? What are some of the things that you'll be looking out for perhaps when you're shortlisting the films?
We're looking for courage. I think that's speaking from also past experiences, because sometimes as first-time filmmakers, you may feel a bit shy to put your work out there. So I think for us, it's we want to encourage you to be as bold and courageous as possible in just submitting anything that you have. I think what we look out for really is storytelling. So if you have something that you feel, oh, maybe the production value is not that high, no worries, just submit. Maybe we will be, we'll be impressed by your stories. So yeah, just keep them coming.
Nice. So be fearless, okay, for those of you at home.
Yes.
Now, of course, if you have more questions that you want to ask us, you can put them into the comments section, and we will have another Q&A section later on this evening that will be plugging them. All right. So let's move on to the next segment, where we're going to be talking about everyday tech in life moments. Okay. So maybe I'll get everyone to start thinking about how everyday tech has impacted your own personal lives. And I'll start with Nikki, all right? So Nikki, being a content curator, right, I'm sure you have come across many films in your life. And have any of these films helped improve your personal life?
Yes. I think there have been a few, I would say, teachable moments where, you get that. It's a bit of okay, I don't want to say I'm like a stalker on like everybody's life, wanting to find out what's going on in your life. But through the films, you get to learn like the encounters, some of the challenges, the troubles, people living in current COVID-19 times, what are some of the difficulties that they go through, and then you realize, oh, there's some sort of similarities to what you are experiencing as well. So I think those are really teachable moments that have also made me have a different perspective on life, have that different outlook on life as well.
Nice. Thanks for sharing. Now, Derek, being in this industry, I'm sure you've been exposed to all sorts of new, exciting technology. But my question for you is there any everyday tech that has personally had a similar impact for you?
Yeah. So I think yeah, when you're dealing with like big tech, right, like things like artificial intelligence and all that, but I think when you kind of like really think about it, it's so useful in your everyday kind of like usage as well. I think example would be something as simple as like Google Maps, right? You know the big tech behind and all, but at the same time, it's really helped you generate direction, get directions to get from one place to another so easily today.
Yes.
Big example for me, I think, because I was traveling quite a lot in the past for work, and I would have to like print out routes and all that first, right? But then nowadays I'll just travel, open a ride-hailing app, and I'll be like, get me to this location. It's so much easier today, and all that is powered by big tech and all, but it's just really there to help me simplify our work, our life. So that's
I think that's the thing about everyday tech as well, right? Like you don't really notice its importance or how helpful it is until you realize that, hey, actually before this, life was a lot more difficult without it. Because for me, like I remember the days without, I needed data for Google Maps, right? So the days before Maps, like I would be circling around when I was driving around, and I'm not the best with directions. So reading those directory books is just like so intimidating to me. But now you just have to tap your location and you can literally be guided your entire journey. So there's that, and I think that's the value of everyday tech as well. I want to ask, being a father to two young children, has everyday tech impacted the way that they are raised or how you interact with your children?
Yeah, so I have two boys, 1 3, 1 1
Nice.
year old.
Cute.
So I think one big technology for me and something that we ourselves have built at Viddsee is video streaming. So being able to, I guess, use, for example, platforms like YouTube, for example, to figure out things, right? Change diapers,
Yes.
baby. so yeah, it's on one hand helpful for the parents, but I think right now also with like education apps as well. Also, I could see my 3-year-old actually going in and leveraging some of these education apps, right? And then, that interactivity, that learning becomes more two-way. In the past, we meet. In the past for us, right, we'll be watching in front of TV. It's very one way, Sesame Street, telling you things.
Okay.
But these days, it's you can interact, you can kind of like trial and error as well. Also, so it's been interesting to kind of see tech in that form. I think for me with devices and video streaming platforms come in and help parenting and education for I think for our kids as well.
Right. I never thought about it that way. Like you wouldn't think that tech would be like helpful even for toddlers.
Yes.
So the fact to hear that, I was like, ooh, that's interesting.
Right. He can learn his ABCs.
Do they watch Baby Shark a lot?
No, we don't let him like go into the video streaming. Video streaming is for the parents to figure things out. But then for the kids will be really like some of these education apps and they've been learning and it syncs up with what they might be learning in school as well, the alphabets, the shapes, and they can just choose, play with things. It's very interactive, it's very two-way.
Got it. Actually, I want to ask you a non-related question. Will you be giving your children mobile phones when they become primary school students?
No, I don't think so.
No, not yet, even though they're learning.
Not yet.
Okay. I think wise decision. Wise decision there.
You become a YouTuber.
I know. Hey, what's wrong with becoming a YouTuber? All right. Okay, I'm going to move over to Evelyn. Now, Evelyn, outside of work, you are also a youth volunteer. Very nice. So what are some stories that you've seen of young adults using everyday tech to help them transition to adulthood?
That's really interesting because when it comes to adulthood, everybody have their own definition of when they actually become an adult. Like some people become an adult when they got their first car.
Okay.
Or when they got their first house, or when they finally they have to manage their own finances, or when they have something they have to be responsible for, like a pet or a plant. Suddenly, okay, I have to be responsible for it to stay alive, right? So I've seen a lot of youth this day. There's a lot of apps out there, like how to take care of your plants, like super important. Right?
Yes.
Especially during COVID, everybody's like, okay, let's buy plants, and then but how do I water my monstera? Like how often do I need to water my monstera? How do I care for peace lily? And that's when everyday tech really comes in, like all this guidance or apps to find out, okay, you know what, all you have to do is just scan, you know exactly what type of plants, how to water it, how to care for it. And that's interesting, because in the past, we don't really have that.
Right.
Yeah, as we move into an adult, when we are becoming responsible for something, and then the more we rely on all this technology
Right.
for us to manage all this.
100%. I think when you start talking about these things, I'm like, oh yeah, actually, you know, a big part about adulthood is being accountable for a lot of things, right? And I mean, like, yes. Suddenly, we're no longer in school, and getting scolded is not the worst thing that can happen. There's a lot worse things that can happen out there. But yeah, of course, I 100% agree. And sometimes I wish, you know, like such apps or such technology would have existed when I was growing up. You know what I mean? I don't, like. Things like Trello for all, like those kind of like
Organization apps.
yeah, organization apps, you know, would really help. And I use that every day now, and I 100% relate, you know, to when you say like, oh, a lot of people use apps for just, you know, simple things in that you would do as an adult. So 100% agree with you.
Calendar apps.
Yes, calendars.
You
You know,
draw timetable.
yes, like I have a chronic late coming problem, and calendars have really helped me
Exactly.
you know, organize my time a little bit better. I'll admit. Some people still don't agree, lah. They say like, you still have the problem, girl, but it has helped. It has helped a little bit. All right, so I have a second question for you, and that it is as someone who is working behind the scenes in the production of everyday tech, of course. Is there a story that you can share that has helped significance for you personally as a creator of, you know, like everyday tech?
There's actually quite a bit.
Okay, we have time.
Thinking where to start. So about 2 years back, I went to Indonesia, and it's quite interesting in the sense like when we talk about delivery riders, right? When we walk side by side with them on the street, we don't know, like, it's just another person, just like us.
Yep.
But I had the opportunity to actually go to their place, go to where they live, and then I realized how much technology has actually changed their lives. So they used to be living in hardship, and then because of technology, it offers them opportunity to more jobs.
Right.
It allows them to earn an income, and suddenly it gives them like the license to dream again. Like he can provide for his family, he can now plan for a house, something that he cannot do before, because before that there's no technology. His job opportunities is very limited, and I can see how tech has impacted people since then. And even in Singapore, we can see people who may be born differently from us, who may be using personal mobility device, and then how tech has actually enabled them to earn a living. Or those who may be hard of hearing, and now they can earn a living. Or in times of COVID, some of my friends or some of my acquaintances, some family friends, they are unfortunately got retrenched, and then I can see how tech has actually helped them to find more opportunities out there.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of you know, people have started home-based businesses as well.
Yes.
And that has been really like powered by the power of social media, really, right?
Yes.
So
Yes.
we really do see how, you know, even platforms that may not be used usually for business can allow someone to find new revenues, revenue streams for themselves.
Correct. Yeah.
Very nice, very nice. All right, so Dominic, I do have a question for you. So, you know, we did previously have a Clubhouse session. So this is actually our first time meeting in person, but we have met before on audio, via audio apps. But we did have a discussion about, you know, exciting developments of technology and how that has helped a lot of people with their everyday lives. So I'm sure you can pinpoint a lot, right? But what is that one favorite everyday tech of yours?
It has to be the obvious thing, which is the mobile phone.
Okay,
Right?
yes.
Because all those things that we discuss about app, it's all enabled because of that.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I used to come from hardware space as well. So I have followed through, you know, how technology has evolved along the way. If you think about how the idea, I mean, when I was first starting to, or when I was growing up, okay, the idea that you can call someone, you know, on the phone from anywhere was already quite amazing. But not only within that one generation, not only can we just do that, we can do a lot, hundreds of other things altogether, right? And people can co-create. It has kind of disrupted and created an entire new economy altogether, right? So I would say that, you know, if there's one tech that is super impactful, I think that's that.
100%. And of course, like relating it to the time that we live in, I really feel like, you know, like the mobile phone has helped so much in the time of like quarantine, of you know, like social distancing. with this one device, like we can get connected to like people who are across the world. Sometimes, like we have family members and friends stuck across the globe, right? And of course, like the mobile phone is able to help us with that. And we've really seen how that can be, like magnified on such a global scale as well, 100%. Now, you two are a father on this. I'm not, but being a father and a family man, can you describe the impact of everyday tech that has had on your relationships with your children and family?
Okay, so I may be a little bit more. I mean, just now when we discussed, we were saying that we are also cautious about exposing mobile phone or tech to kids. Personally, I look at it a little bit differently. Because if we think about what has transformed in our generation, and when I look about my kids, I think that if they do not know how to be integrally using mobile device or tech device, right, I think they will actually fall behind. So at a very young age, whenever possible, I actually gave both my kids. So I currently have a 14-year-old and a 10-year-old, and I gave both of them mobile phone the soonest they can. And I think instead of trying to bar them or to guard them, I believe in trying to help them to learn how to best use it. So I spend quite a bit of time on the phone with my kid. I mean, on the phone, not as in calling him, but sitting next to him and either be it playing games or exploring content together. So instead of making it into a conversational killer, I try to see whether can I turn that technology into a conversational piece, right? So I'm happy in a way that my son, for example, he's very super curious, and from a very young age, he learned how to search for content himself, and he will come in one day and surprise me with all kinds of funny things, knowledge that I've never thought about before, right? Of course, parents usually are very worried that kids will view the wrong content. But I would argue to say that if we teach them well, then teach them how to guide them how to choose rather than to censor things from them.
Got it.
So I think it is unavoidable. The technology is coming in our face like that, and we cannot avoid it. So why not embrace it?
Can you share what are some of the content that you guys watch together?
Well, so my son goes through many phases. Currently, he's in the phase of World War II. So, so he's 10 years old, and he will look at a picture of a plane. He will tell you what model it is. He will look at, he will explain to you like a particular events or battle, and then what were the winning points or losing points and stuff. These are things that he's curious about, right? So I would sit in and listen to him.
I'm embarrassed. When I was 10 years old, I was watching High Five, Wow, like now he's watching about planes, and wow, I'm very impressed. Yes. But what about now? Like, as in, you mentioned phases. So what are some of the other things that? So
before this, he was into astronomy.
I can't.
So that was a little bit. I mean, that was up my alley because I was also very passionate about it in my school days.
Okay.
So we had a lot to talk about, and so it's the beauty of technology is that it just offers such a wide array of topics, and I can let him choose whatever he wants.
Right. All I'm thinking about is MOE, are you listening? Because we have a gifted child on our panel here today. But anyway, let's move on to the next segment, all right? We're going to be talking about filmmaking. So I'm going to go to my left side right now and then talk a little bit more about the filmmaking process and what are some of the considerations that filmmakers will have, especially in today's context, right? So, of course, with COVID-19 restrictions in place, we've really seen the world change, right? So what are some challenges that filmmakers or filmmaking enthusiasts may face today in the world of filmmaking? Maybe Derek can take this one?
Yeah, so definitely the pandemic has caused restrictions in terms of how we go out and shoot and produce content. But at the same time, I think when we kind of come in and create content, right? We can create the world that we want to kind of set up, right? So while there are restrictions, I think there's a lot more possibilities for us to explore ways to, even explore films within a room, house itself.
Indoors.
Yeah, indoors, for example, and building kind of like, I guess, finding characters and stories that really kind of resonates within that space. Or even right now, I think a lot of us are going out to nature as well. Also, how do we kind of like find moments there as well? Also, so we adapt, and I think filmmakers we tend to kind of do that. We adapt to the situation. We also during this period, I think, would find things that would also resonate. I think something quite interesting last year was when we kind of did a call out to filmmakers and asked for stories. A number of them were sharing stories of elderlies, and became a certain. And these are coming from young filmmakers, but it became a reflection of how they're thinking about the older generation during the lockdowns, and exploring, I think, themes and ideas there as well. Also, so I think the pandemic has created a certain point in time where I think we're exploring stories of this situation, and I think instead of ignoring it, I think embracing it and really kind of like documenting some of the stories during this period lah. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. Nikki, I have the same question for you. Like, what are some challenges that filmmakers or filmmaking enthusiasts may face in a in a pandemic world, really?
Yeah, I echo Derek's thought on that, and wanted to also share something that Lilin brought up when we were chatting with her previously. So she recently did a Zoom short film. So the entire story premise is in a Zoom call with just two guys. And yeah, if you can go to her profile, you can check out. It's just a 3-minute. I think it was just 3-minute shot. So very short and sweet, but yet it captured that feeling. I think what inspired her to tell this story is that a lot of us are feeling this pent up frustration, like, oh, I can't travel to Bali. I can only dream of going to the airport and resuming travels again. So she took this feeling and she poured it out in this very short film, where two guys are just being in that moment of just changing their Zoom backgrounds into different backgrounds, and imagining, just taking their imagination to a whole new level. Like, oh, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm on the beach enjoying some wind and sun. So yeah, I think it's instances like these where filmmakers, they are challenged to take that story to that next level. They don't feel as constrained just because, I cannot have a big film set now. I cannot have so many people on set. So what can I do with the current resources? How can I take creativity to the next step?
100%.
So yeah, this is something that we have been observing also.
I think that really redefines what like the filmmaking process can be like. When I hear filmmaking, I really think like, tripod camera and on a gimbal and whatnot. But then now you can even make films using existing platforms, right?
Yes.
And you don't even need like a full production setup, which is very, very creative, I would say. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about if we put aside COVID-19, right, and just focus on filmmaking in general, what are some tips that you guys can give to those who are at the start of their journeys who may not necessarily have had the experience of being on set or like script writing or whatnot? Like, what are some tips that you guys can share for them?
May I start? Yeah, I think again, coming off from your own experience, I think we again don't have to be a Steven Spielberg where we can imagine a world that is out there and all. It can really start off from your own experience, and again it relates very nicely to the theme lah. Starting from there, I think you know the emotions, how it made you feel, and I think that is a very good starting point. I think to tell in telling a story. I took this from a famous local filmmaker, Anthony Chen, right? And he kind of like he leverages a lot of that in his short film. I think he kind of like places himself in his own experiences and telling stories from there. But I think as you grow in your career, then you're able to, I guess, gain that experience to also project outwards. And in that sense, being able to tell other stories as well also, even though that's not kind of like the familiar setting for yourself. But I think for filmmakers who are starting out, I think starting from something that you're familiar with, I think will build a lot more authenticity rather than trying to imagine this again sci-fi world or fantasy world, right? Like you don't have to do that. And again, if you look at how technology is playing a part in your everyday interaction, start from there, and I think you're able to unearth very interesting stories to share.
Nice. Now, Nikki, what about you? Any tips for people who may not have the introduction to the film world?
I think throughout these years, what we have also been seeing is the rise in I don't know whether maybe they do home-based learning at like at their own time, but they pick up the craft all by themselves. And I think the similar trait that we see is that they're constantly being exposed to like the types of content out there, the films, the stories. So with their eyes wide open, they then took that leap of faith to make their first video or their first film or their first clip. So I think having that mindset, that approach will be a good step to take for first time filmmakers.
100%.
And it's not an excuse now, right? Like you have your mobile
Ayo.
phone, you literally can point and shoot. You can shoot 4K videos at the moment right now.
Yes.
I think in the past it was harder, to have access to equipment. I think now you have literally access to tools to shoot. You also have access to distribution. So yeah, really not an excuse. Like make your film now and submit.
Yes. And as Dominic mentioned, access to education as well,
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so I mean, Nikki, you mentioned the fact that, you can put yourself out there and watch what other people are doing as well. And actually, that reminded me of a class I took in NTU where I was learning about filmmaking, and my professor made us watch all these different films and then dissect the films from trying to put ourselves in the perspective of a director and really breaking down those films. And that helped us kind of like understand the thought process of a creator, right? Really. And of course, with YouTube, as Dominic would know, like all these streaming platforms will have a lot of like resources where you can learn as well. I remember watching just film directors breaking down famous scenes of their movies, just easily available for free on YouTube. So what you guys can do is also like know what resources are available out there and tap on them in order to become a better creator, I would say. All right, so let's move on. No, but before we do, I just want to say that we are currently in Phase 3 Heightened Alert, and I just want to remind everyone to adhere to the safe management measures listed on the IMDA website when it comes to shooting your film. So for those of you who obviously want to go back to the traditional way of filming with a camera, tripod and whatnot, you must make sure that you follow the restrictions and also like measures that are put in place. Okay, so you can refer to the link in the comments and also the QR code that is currently showing on screen as well. Derek, before we go on to the next section, can I just ask you, are there any other important contest reminders or housekeeping matters that people who are interested to submit their films should know about?
Yeah, so I know we have, is this the deadline question?
Yes.
So we know that the deadline is coming out, but I think what we've decided to do is also extend the deadline forward to the end of July. So that's the new deadline that we've pushed out. Other submission details, I guess you can go down to the again the Juree website under the LifeSG section. I think the link should be in the comments below. And check out more details there.
Okay. Very nice, very nice. So you guys heard it here first, okay? The deadline for this category has been extended to 31st July, and I hope that you guys are excited about this time extension. That means more time to learn, more time to create, and more time to also put the films together. So but that also means more time for competitors, so you better make sure your one is good. Okay, so let's move on to the live Q&A section. So I believe that some of you have been putting questions into the comments section, so let's go there right now and pick up some questions that we have for the panelists, okay? So we have one question coming in. for Dominic. Okay, so Dominic, we can't deny that tech has improved the lives of many people, but there has always been this flip side of digital exclusion and how data is used. So what's your take on this?
Yeah, so very, very similar philosophy of what I shared just now with regards to my how I bring up my kids. I think with anything, right, especially with technology, it is a double-edged sword, right? It has definitely improved our lives, but of course there's also a downside to it. There's like what this question would say, digital exclusion, exploitation of data and stuff like that. I think it's a question of how we navigate forward, how we manage the good things, and at the same time try to solve problems or reduce the impact of the downside of technology, right? Because if we don't do that, right, then us as human race will not be able to advance.
Nice. Very philosophical. I can listen to you talk all day long, actually. Why weren't you my university professor? I was sleeping in class. All right, so the next question that we have is for Evelyn. Now, is LifeSG supposed to become a super app for Singaporeans? What an interesting question.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So one thing for sure, LifeSG is here to be citizens' personal assistant to government services. That's one thing for sure. We want to help citizens to navigate the range of services that we have, to discover and then to break the silos between all the different agencies. Yep. So whether we become a super app or not, that is a byproduct of our implementation. It can be different, but our core mandate is to be the citizens' assistant.
Okay. Maybe you can. I'll say. I think it will become a super app. No, but when I heard the guides coming, I think that's the one that I'm super excited about. Because I really think that that would be 100% in line with what you guys are setting ourselves out to do. All right. So the next question that we have is, let's see. We have a question for Derek. All right. So multiple questions actually. So the first question says, can we submit multiple films to increase our chances? Ooh, wow, this person very competitive. Yes. Can we submit multiple films?
Yeah, submit as many as you want.
As many as you want. Okay.
As many as you want.
Can the servers handle?
Can.
Okay.
Can you handle it?
Oh, can you handle it? Okay. All right. And the second question that we have is: must we create a new film? Can we submit our past films?
Yeah. So you can create a new film for this, but at the same time also we're actually open if you have past films as well also. So both are fine. Yeah.
That makes it actually so much easier for so many people.
Correct.
Wow, okay, that's a great question for whoever submitted that one. Let's move on to the next question. We have a question for Nikki. Two questions once again, actually. So the first question is, what are the trends that you see in recent film submissions? I'm quite interested to hear about that one.
How recent is recent?
Recent.
This year onwards.
Let's say within the last year.
Yeah.
A lot more indoor.
Of course, yes.
It's indoor. Maybe with the guidelines in place, indoors is so much better, right, to work with. I think film submissions, in terms of the topic, there is an increase in people talking about mental health. Also, with today's climate and the environment that we live in, there are quite creative takes on mental health issues. So it's not, it's not those soapy stuff that you pour your heart out, but it's really that slice of life approach, and it makes you think about how we are also tackling this issue in our various stages of life. So that's something that I think we've been observing so far.
Very nice. What about in terms of genres? Has there been a trend in genres, like a change?
More horror.
Really?
Yes.
Is it reflective of the horrors of the pandemic?
Or perhaps somehow the horror films are performing well quite recently on the platform. Horror thriller, especially those that tackle societal issues.
Social horrors.
So usually they are social commentaries about something, whether it's the government or something that they youths just like to talk about. They will then put on like a horror genre to it.
Right, interesting.
So yeah, there's something we've been noticing.
All right, so I'm just going to move on to the final question, and this one I'm going to open it to all our panelists. So the question is, how about a film that reimagines life without technology? Now, does that still fulfill the criteria? Interesting question. All right, so I'm going to repeat the question. How about a film that reimagines life without tech? Does that still fulfill the criteria? Derek, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, I think feel free to submit the films. I think we're really open to kind of see how you're imagining. I think the moments of a Singaporean life. I think there could be interesting nuggets that you can kind of pick up from there, where technology can play a part to simplify it. But yes, I think we're open to look out for any stories in this case. Yeah.
Got it. Now, Dominic, what about you? Do you feel that if a film reimagines life without tech, does that still fulfill the criteria?
When I saw this question, actually, I thought it would be actually very interesting. In fact, how to answer the question by not answering the question. That's what it is. So
Philosophical again. But
so
yes.
yeah, definitely. I look forward to that.
So actually, it really sounds like anything goes, right? Like it's just be creative, go out of the box, and have fun with it. I think that's the most important thing. I think that will reflect in your work as well. Once you enjoy the process, I would believe. All right, then I don't think there's any other questions coming in. So I think it's time for us to wrap up. But before we go, I just want to remind everyone that you can sign up for updates on the LifeSG Award category at go.gov.sg/LifeSG-Fireside Chat. Once again, I'm just going to repeat that, go.gov.sg/LifeSG-Fireside Chat. I believe that the link will be placed in the comment section as well. So please go take note of that link. Or you can also scan the QR code that has appeared on your screen with a separate device, or you can currently screenshot what you're seeing right now. All right, so as you've heard from Derek, the deadline has been extended to July 31st. So make sure you submit your entries by the extended deadline. All right, so I'm just going to say thank you to the panelists, all of you. Thank you so much for joining us this Friday evening, even though I think all of you would have plans if not for this one. But thank you for taking the time to sit down and discuss this discussion with us tonight. Thank you, Nikki. Thank you, Derek. Thank you, Dominic. And thank you, Evelyn.
Thank you.
For those of you at home, I hope you found this session insightful and helpful. And please, if you have any other questions, you can also continue to find them out. Most likely, the answers will be on the websites. All right. So I hope you have a fantastic weekend ahead. Thank you so much once again for joining us this evening. Bye bye.